Hey everyone, today I want to talk to you about the responsive view and responsive extensions that are coming out of the UNO Toolkit library. So what we're going to show you right now is just a common scenario that you might want to run into where you have some UI that you'd like to change based on the size of your application's window, right? So we have a little example here where we're changing colors and we're changing the name of the text as we're resizing the window, right? And so this is an UNO app running in the browser right now. How this is currently built is how you would do it using the WinUI APIs without any toolkit involved at all. And you could see it's pretty verbose, right? So you would basically have your UI defined down here as our grid and as our text block that we had shown. And then this huge chunk of code here is all your visual states and your visual state triggers using adaptive triggers for the min window width, right? For all your visual states. And you'd be setting the value for the background and the text to different values based on those visual states using those trigger values here, those hard-coded values, right? So this is all pretty complex, convoluted, and doesn't need to be this ugly, right? So what you can do is we're going to switch branches right now to a branch that is using the UNO toolkit and is using the new responsive markup extensions. So if I switch to this branch, you'll see some pretty drastic changes in the XAML. You'll see that all we have left is the grid and the text block. All those visual states are gone. And instead, we're using this new binding markup extension called responsive, coming from the UNO Toolkit UI namespace. And so you can provide values for narrow, for normal, for wide, for widest, for other values as well. And they're also not required. So I can leave out normal and I can leave out widest, and it will interpolate between whichever values that you provide to figure out which resolution it should, which width it should fall into for the values that you're providing in your binding. So if we were to rebuild this application and take a look at it, we'll just give it a second. What you'll see is the exact same UI, but now built with these markup extensions instead. And so nothing special here. The same thing is happening, but now it's done using these responsive binding extensions. Now, if you want it to be a bit more verbose, or if you want it to have larger changes in your UI, you can use our new responsive view, which is a control also in the UNO Toolkit library. So let's jump to a branch that's using responsive view instead. And again, you'll see the XAML change here. And so we're a bit more back to the verbose style of our XAML. But you'll see what you have over here are different templates that you can define for each of your states that your responsive can resolve to. Right. And so we have our UI here with our blue. We have our UI here with our green background. And that's how it would switch between these templates. Now, for this example, it's a little bit simplistic. We're just going to get this running as I talk. It's a little bit simplistic. But this would be the case where you have large architectural changes in your UI and your layouts that would break between these breakpoints for your width. And so this is where you can re-architect basically your UI with hard set breakpoints. And so we would see this running again in our application, and it looks the same, right? So again, same thing's going on, but now it's using our responsive view and actually swapping out swapping out to different grids as we're changing our widths. Now you may be asking yourself, how can I customize the width breakpoints, those values of when it switches between these templates, when it switches between these modes? That's all done using the responsive layout property that's available on responsive view and within the markup extensions themselves. I'm not going to get into it. There's a lot that's available on the docs. So go ahead, go read the docs on the Toolkit website for the documentation. There's lots to learn. And the great thing about overriding these layouts is they could be scoped to any level. So at the page level, at the app level, at the grid, at any UI element level, you can say within this scope, I want my responsive layout breakpoints to be these values instead of these values. So there's a lot of customization and a lot of cool stuff that you can do with this. And so just as a fun little thing before I sign off, talking about those fun things that you can do, we can do silly things like this. So I'm going to get this running, but we'll talk about the UI here. This is basically the same grid that we were looking at before with our same text block, but now we have this image here. And you'll notice that we have these resources up here for different rotate transforms. And so we have a responsive binding here for our render transform of our image that has bindings to different rotate transforms that are defined in those resources for your page. So it's a little bit long, but you can see all these looking like this. And basically what you get with that is this nice image of me rotating as we change width breakpoints within our application. So we have, fun things that you can do with responsive layouts. So go check it out. Definitely go check out the docs. There's lots more information. Hope you built something cool and hope you learned something, and I'll catch you in the next one.